Arafat's medical condition, a spokesman describes it as a critical point now between life and death. Later, more than 3 decades of bringing the story home, NBC's Robert HAGGER files his last report for NBC Nightly News on our business then and now.
Tomorrow, high stakes and much uncertainty. What's the future for peace in the Middle East? Brian Williams reports live from the region. NBC Nightly News tomorrow.
The Nightly Journal, brought to you by Walmart. Always low prices, always.
Our Nightly Journal tonight. From time to time, one of those journalism study groups compiles a list of the network correspondents who have been on the air the most in the last year, and one name is always there. Robert HAGGER of NBC News. Our Cal Ripken of correspondence, a Hall of Famer on the first ballot. Although Bob has stayed on the field longer than even Cal, he is all that you would want in a colleague. Cheerful, indefatigable, a team player, and always in the hot spot at the right time. Tonight, hard to believe, Bob makes his final appearance on NBC Nightly News with some personal reflections on how the world of network news has changed in his long and very memorable career.
35 years ago, when NBC first sent me to Vietnam, there were no satellites to transmit news, not from Vietnam anyway, and no videotape. We used film.
From here, it looks a long way from a ceasefire. Robert HAGGER, NBC News, with the 199th Infantry.
So we could only do stories that would remain newsworthy for days, to allow time to ship them off by plane. And then for the film to be developed. Nowadays, it's much different. Covering a hurricane, for instance, doesn't matter how remote the location, a satellite truck comes right to you. And videotape allows for instant playback, or you can broadcast live.
The wind and the rain were still coming.
We just saw a live picture of what seemed to be a portion of the building falling away.
The events of one of the most momentous days in history, 9/11, mostly unfolded live on TV.
Is it an experienced pilot, the hijacker himself, who gets the pilot out of his seat and takes over at the controls to guide it in at the last minute? We don't know, of course. Yeah. Sometimes TV journalists who've been around for a while lament that the news just isn't like it used to be. But in reality, the reporting skills are timeless. It's who you know, what they tell you, how you write it, and how you explain it. Meantime, the tools available today to help are light years better.
For background basics, minutes on the computer can fill you in better than what used to take days for librarians wading through stacks of news clips or documents. And nowadays, if the best expert to put on cameras in Seattle, but you're in Washington, no problem. Interview by satellite. And what's coming is mind-boggling. Tiny, unobtrusive digital cameras and wireless laptops that can quickly piece TV stories together and send them off without a satellite transmitter. Years ago, back in Vietnam, when the plane took off with your yet-to-be-aired stories still in a film can in the cargo hold, that was it. If there were a new development, just wasn't much you could do about it. Today, that's all changed. And if some say the news just isn't like it used to be, often that's not all bad. Robert HAGGER, NBC News, Washington.
Bob and his wife, Honey, have another life in rural Vermont where they now want to spend more time, but, and this is just a guess, the next time a hurricane blows up or an airplane goes down, Bob will reach for the telephone. Now, we'd love that, but in fairness, Honey, you don't require this, but you do have our permission to cancel the call and lock the door. Thanks for everything, my friends. It's been great. That's Nightly News for this Friday night. I'm Tom Brokaw for Robert HAGGER and all the folks here at NBC News.
NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw is a presentation of NBC News. More Americans watch NBC Nightly News than any other evening newscast. NBC News, America's news leader.
The wait for word in the Middle East on Yasser Arafat's condition as NBC News goes in.